It's still morning. Good morning, everybody. It's 9:45. So I'll introduce the next session. My name's Teresa Bolton. You might remember me and Danielle from the Morning Drive Show. I'm a member of the Aging Positive Planning Committee, and I'm the director of the beautiful Downtown Central Library. Before I reintroduce our workshop presenter, there are a few housekeeping reminders. All participants will be muted during the presentation. Please enter your questions in the chat. I will attempt to keep track of the questions and comments. Hopefully I'll do as good of a job as Haley. Please also use the chat as you did earlier to give tips and tricks and share information with your fellow attendees here. The presentation will be recorded. The recording and the PowerPoint presentation will be made available within 2 weeks. You'll receive an email announcement when those are available on the conference website. So let's once again welcome Dr. Sue Myllykangas, nationally certified therapeutic recreation specialist and professor in the Parks and Recreation program at the School of Health Science and Wellness at Northwest Missouri State University. Our next presentation is entitled Times They Are A-Changin. Dr. Sue, welcome back.
And Sue is having some connection issues, so I believe she is reconnecting now. Sue, have you been able to connect successfully? We're working through some technical issues. Please give us a moment.
While they're working through that, I'll remind everybody that we do have trivia in the morning, tomorrow morning and Thursday morning. And we do have door prizes at the end of the day today. So after this next presentation, stick around for your chance to win lots of fabulous prizes from our sponsors. And for anyone that was at trivia, Goofy was Pluto's dog, or the other way around. So there was a dog that had a dog. If you were playing cartoons with us this morning, you'll know what I was talking about.
Sue, are you able to hear me?
For those who may be on this conference on your phone or an iPad, we're experiencing technological difficulties right now. So while you may think we're on mute, we're on standby until we can connect with Dr. Sue.
Hi, just to let everyone know, we are, by we, I mean, Carmela's working on the issue. And hopefully it'll get it resolved soon. Thanks for sticking with us.
We appreciate your patience. I am actively on the phone with Sue trying to problem solve our issues.
A couple people have mentioned in the chat that they're appreciative of their swag bag. Hopefully you got a little box in the mail if you didn't get one. Haley's saying that you can email her your full name and address, and she'll check on your mailing status. You want to get the cool stuff. You know, don't need these today, but hopefully sometime soon you'll need your cool glasses from Parks and Rec. Got some pens that you could be doodling with right now while you're waiting for things to get started. Could be highlighting your notes, what you took earlier. Oh yeah, I have like 3 of these in my purse. I don't know if anyone else does, and I always forget it's there and I never use it. So got the little door handle opener, and you can also use it on the, the keypads when if you don't have Apple Pay or Google Pay and you still need to type in your name there when you're checking out. Have to remember your sunscreen and your chapstick. Got one of those. That's important. And then Denise was saying today that she has never used a Twizzler, has a straw. So she's missing out there. If you're gonna be staying at home during this rain, watching some movies, get yourself some popcorn and drink your stuff through your Twizzler straw there. I like to think that I'm champion rambler. But I'm not sure I am. I work at the downtown Kansas City Public Library, and I feel like I should just get a book and do story time.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yay!
Am I here?
You're here.
Oh,
Yay.
praise the Lord. I did not know what in the world was going on. It was driving me crazy.
I was running out of things to talk about. Welcome
Like,
back.
I don't know what else to do. It kept freezing and not letting me in. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry. I'm here. All right, are we ready? Now I can't hear anybody. Hello, hello.
We hear you, Sue.
Okay. Ready. Okay, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to wake you up with my orange. All right, you guys, here we go. So I think most of us are old enough to know Bob Dylan. And he sang a song called The Times Are Changing, and that was back in the late 60s. Well, it continues to do so. So this presentation is spawned by a very brief time on the Senior Center board where I learned that they did not have a clue what in the world was going on in the world. So I will share with you what I learned about a needs assessment and how we did our needs assessment. And I will share with you and ask you to please not share the data that I have in this presentation, because I really don't want the wrath of Nodaway County to come down on me. But I am sharing it with you to try to give you an understanding of what I found out and how to do a needs assessment if you choose to do one in your area. So here we go. Maybe. There we go. All right, these are your learning outcomes and things that should happen. So I want you to think about your own agencies and the programming that you do at your own agencies. And think about when the last time was that you conducted a needs assessment or figured out what changes had been going on around your world. When was the last time you did this? Or have you done it? And so this presentation is going to help you figure that out. A basic outline of information to include if you decide to do a needs assessment. I'll give you that information. And an understanding of the administrative and professional reasons that we need to do these on a pretty regular basis. So I usually do discussions because I don't like talking to myself on a screen. So do me a favor and throw things into the chat, and Teresa will help me out here and let me know what y'all are saying. Do you know what a needs assessment is? Do you know if your agency does them? Do you know when the last time your agency does one? I get a yes. Hello? What is a needs assessment, guys? What participants want? Livable communities, that's a model, Lisa. Things that are needed during COVID. An assessment to determine what's needed, general community. Fitting the needs of the community. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Ooh, annually. Good job, Steph. All right, yes, gaps. Okay, good. Good job. So, yes. And I'm glad you guys are doing them. So in recreation therapy, we use this process called APIDE. It's basically the same thing you would do with a needs assessment. So we do an assessment of the client's needs. We plan goals and objectives that can meet those needs. We implement the interventions, what we're doing. We evaluate if we met the goals, and we document the outcomes. And I always tell my students, there's a difference between output and outcome. So let me clarify that for you guys that don't know the difference. So we all collect outputs all the time for our bosses. They want to know how many participants are using which rooms, whether program participation is growing or shrinking or all of that. That's all output. It's what we do. So I mowed 40 acres of parkland today. I sold 36 t-shirts. Well, that's great. That's an output. It's what you did. An outcome is really what we need to be tracking, which is what happened because of what you did. So if I mowed 40 acres of parkland, they were able to increase use of the park by 42%. That shows that your effort to mow the park made a difference in people using the park. I sold 36 t-shirts. Well, that's what you did. But if that extra income from the t-shirts went to fund 4 scholarships for low-income participants, that's your outcome. So our community members who are paying the taxes for our services want to know what they're getting for the money that they're giving us. That is the outcomes. And if you want to document that your programs are making a difference, you need to document the outcomes, how you're meeting the needs of the people that you're serving. And in doing that, you will have the information you need to use for marketing. You'll also have it for writing grants and documenting why they should give you the money over somebody else, because you've actually said, here's what's going on. The other thing I tell my students all the time is that could save your job. because your boss has got to cut some staff. Who they going to cut? Well, if you walk into the office with documented outcomes of how you've been meeting your client's needs, and you say, here's what I've done, here's the results of what I've done, you're more than likely going to keep your job. So I push this all the time. So when we do a needs assessment, it's pretty much the same thing. We're trying to assess the needs of the people we serve. We're planning goals and objectives on how we can better meet those needs. We implement whatever changes or whatever things we decided needed to be done. We evaluate if we met the needs, and we document how those needs were met. Same thing. And you can do a needs assessment for a program. You can do it for the entire agency. You can do it for the community needs that you've been noticing. It also helps you with resource allocations. So if you've only got so much money to spend, you're going to spend it where it's going to meet the biggest need. Well, in order to figure that out, you have to do a needs assessment. And it helps you with decision making. What is our agency not going to do anymore? And what is our agency going to continue to do or add to what we do? That all falls in there. It also gives you an idea of trends, things that are happening. You're going to see in this presentation how the demographic shift is going to require us to stay on target with what's coming. And then you're going to fill service gaps. And I'll show you an example of how I worked with somebody down in the KC area to do this. So here's Kathy way back when. Hi, Kath. I worked with the YMCA. When I first came to Northwest, I reached out and started building my network. And Kathy was one of the people that I hooked up with. She runs the senior programs or the active adult programs at the Y. And she got to know me, I got to know her, and I was teaching a senior seminar class, which is where students were supposed to be able to use everything they learned. And Kathy threw out a question, and I turned it into a class for my senior seminar. It became a problem-based learning opportunity for the students because it was a real live problem that was occurring right now, and it was up to them to figure out what was going on. So Kathy tossed me out a question that basically was, why won't the baby boomers participate in her programs? So she's down in Platte County. I'm way the heck up in Nodaway County. The students did a lot of research. The students went down. We went down for a tour. We got to see what was going on. And then I threw them the question. You guys have to figure out why they're not coming. Go. And so the kids pulled together. They did a great job. The kids pulled together that there was a huge increase in the number and demographics of the boomers in Platte County, that the competition for their business was booming. So everybody was trying to get them to come in and use their business. That they were mostly focused, all the programs that were out there were mostly focused on fitness. And that really wasn't what the baby boomers were looking for, because they had the purple gyms and all the other places that they could go for fitness. So they also looked at money, and boomers are one of the most in-debt generations that we have. The early boomers, those from 1946 to 1954, are some of the most in debt of any generation. And so money is on their mind all the time. And a lot of the stuff they wanted to do cost a lot of money. So the students realized that they were not meeting the programs that were being offered, were not meeting the needs of the baby boomers. So the baby boomers, Earth Day was created during the teenage years of the baby boomers. So they're really into conservation and recycling and keeping the planet healthy. And they didn't want instructional format classes all the time or fitness classes all the time. So Kathy took this information and we gave her some suggestions as to what to do. And she took this information and created her community garden program. And it went gangbusters. And so she created a community garden where people lease a lot and come out and work together on growing their own gardens. In a city, it's really hard to have a place to grow a garden. And here you actually have a community of people that share the same mindset to go ahead and garden together and assist each other. And this garden program, I think, Kath, if you're on here, you can jump in and say hello. I think this garden program is still going. And it all came out of the needs assessment that the students did way back when. So this is an example of how you can actually use that process. You figure out an issue, you conduct a needs assessment around it, find out what was going on, and then come forward. Can you let Kath jump in for a minute, Teresa? Hello?
I
It's
do
Kate.
not know how to do that. I think Carmela would have to do that for us. I can try. I can try. Let me try to find Kathy.
It's Kate Armitage. There you are.
Hi, Dr. Sue.
Hi, Kath.
How are you?
Oh, I'm just hunky.
You just shocked me on this one.
I told you. I gave you a heads up.
So yeah, we still have this program in existence. We have been in existence since we launched this program, I think in 2012. And we are currently full and currently have a waiting list for people to get in. So it's a very, very successful program. We donate about 3,000 to 5,000 pounds of fresh produce to our pantry. And this year we joined with Platte County Meals on Wheels, and we're going to supplement some fresh produce for their monthly or their weekly drops off. I think they have about 50 to 60 participants in the Platte County Meals on Wheels, and every other week we're going to get some fresh produce to our seniors.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Did you ever think we'd do this after that?
No, no, this is my highlight, one of my big programs that I thoroughly enjoy doing here.
Yeah. It was amazing. It was fun to work with Kathy, and the kids got a lot out of it too, for a learning experience. So thank you. That's it. I won't scare you anymore.
All right, thanks.
So a lot of people may not know this, and especially your community people, even though when you tell them, they're like, oh, wow, that's a big thing. And then they forget about it again. But 2035 is the magic year. We want everybody to understand what in the world's going to happen. Our dependency ratio is going to flip in 2035. For the first time in the history of our country, we will have more older adults than we have kids. And it will continue that way for many years following. This is why I get on my bandwagon and beat my drum for all of my students. I want some kids that are actually really well trained on how to deal with all of us older adults. So we are going to see older adults outnumber youth by more than 23% by the time we get to 2060. And the really scary part is there's fastest growing group is the oldest old, which has the most healthcare issues, dementia and healthcare problems. So we really do need to be proactive about what we're doing to keep everybody as healthy as possible. All right, I've showed this a couple times, but I wanted to do it again just for fun's sake here. So this is what I brought to the Nodaway County Economic Development, the hospital, and basically the city of Maryville when I'm trying to advocate. So what I did was I took projected population from in all the different age categories in 5-year increments, and I put down who was 50 and older from 2015 to 2030. What are we going to look at in that 15-year span here in Nodaway County? These gray boxes right here are the baby boomers. And I included everybody from 46 to 50 or to 64, 1946 to 64. And so you'll see the numbers of older adults increasing as we go along. This number over here, what I did was I took this number and figured out what a change was going to happen in each age group in that age bracket over the 15 years. What you're going to notice is by the time everybody hits 60, we still have a decrease. By the time people hit 65, we increase in 2030 by 31%. And the older 70 to 74 is 58%, 75 is 76%, and so on. What this means is Nodaway County is in for an aging boom, which is why I'm trying to get them to understand that they want to fix the city. They're going to have a lot of older adults. And they can either accommodate them or they're going to leave. That's pretty much what's going to happen. And they're not going to grow a bunch, as you can see up here. They're going to actually decline really a lot and then come back again. And because you guys are down in the Kansas City area, I always like to throw this one in for y'all. So this is Platte County. If you've noticed at all that there's a lot of assisted livings and skilled care facilities being built, it's because there are other people in the world that know this. And so look at what's going to happen in Platte County in your 80 to 84-year-old group in the next 15 years. 131% growth. And so people have figured this out down in Kansas City, and this is why you're seeing all the memory care units being built and all the assisted living and skilled care, is because people realize there's going to be a lot of older adults down in that neck of the woods. And so your senior programs, all of the stuff that you all are working on is vital for what they need to know for what's coming, because you're going to have a little bit of a drop with Gen X, and then the millennials behind them are actually bigger than the boomers were. So it's going to be an economic roller coaster for people for a while. Your senior programs are going to kick booty, then they're going to decline, then they're going to come back in full force later after you get done. So there's a lot of older adults headed down to Kansas City area. I see what you guys are saying. Yada, 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 yada.
Laura wanted to know what you meant by fix the city.
Fix the city. So it's that last presentation nightmare that we talked about, which is the infrastructure. So there's not transportation, there's not enough health care. We have an epidemic of diabetes going along right now, and with diabetes comes vision issues, which make driving impossible. And it also means that a lot of older adults may have the need for kidney dialysis. Right now, if you get put on kidney dialysis, you have to drive to St. Joseph every day. There's nothing in town that can assist you. So it's not age friendly. They're going to be redesigning South Main Street, putting in turn lanes and things. And I talked to them and said, you might want to address the aging issues now. And they were like, oh, what's that? I said, don't plant trees in your median. Make sure the signs are big enough for people to be able to read. Make sure your stoplights are timed well enough for people to be able to cross the street. Simple things like that needs to be done. So fixing the city is the infrastructure problems that we've got going on. Does that help? Everybody? Yeah, the pandemic. The other thing that's the issue, you guys, is this does not take into account people that are moving from rural areas into urban areas, because urban areas have the resources we need to be able to navigate aging. It's got the transportation, it's got the senior centers, it's got the daycares, it's got everything we need, the healthcare. So a lot of times people will leave rural areas to go to the city. So Kansas City is going to grow. Their aging population is going to get big. Okay, so now I want to share with you what I did for this needs assessment. You need to know a little bit that I was elected for the Senior Center, Nodaway County Senior Center Board. And I was very happy to be placed on this board for a while, until it became obvious that they were not going to move and do anything. Then it was just a waste of time. So I asked them right away when the last time they did a needs assessment was. And they said, oh, we just did that last year. I said, oh, that's wonderful. Can you share the results with me? And I got some papers that had questions like, do you want a potato bar or a salad bar? Do you want to have a burger day or do you want to have a casserole day? I mean, it had absolutely nothing to do with the needs of the seniors. It had to do with what things they thought they should bring into the senior center for meals. So it was not a needs assessment. The other thing I realized really quickly was that they were really only serving the seniors in Maryville and not the entire county. They are supposed to be serving the county seniors, which is everybody. So I grabbed a graduate student, thank God for grad students, who needed to have her final project, and I recruited Heather and she helped me with this beast. We did this in one semester, in a fall semester. It took a lot of time. So the first thing I did was I partnered with the AAA, which is where all the federal Older American Act monies come from. So I know that multi-purpose senior centers are part of the money. That's where part of the money comes to fund the senior center services. So I wanted to partner with AAA to see what other services we could help meet. So this is Becky Flannery. She just retired as the executive director of the AAA up here in Albany, and Michael took over. And so I partnered with these guys. I explained to the board about the Older Americans Act and where the money comes from and how we get it, and how it comes from the local AAA, the Area Agency on Aging, and that we basically write grants for the money to provide the services. So then I decided the purpose of this study was going to be to determine the needs of the seniors and their caregivers in Nodaway County, to determine gaps in services and to define where and how we spend the limited resources of money that we do have. My personal agenda on the whole thing was to identify gaps in services that a recreation therapist, certified recreation therapist, could fill, because I'm trying to get one hired in town. I would like one to be in town. Right now we have one, and it's at an assisted living, and I push out anywhere from 15 to 20 students a year who need internships, and I have one spot to send them. Otherwise, they're going to Colorado and Nebraska and Iowa and every place else because there's no place that they can go. They have to be supervised by somebody who's nationally certified in rec therapy, which is another little twist in our world. So I'm trying to get some people certified to stay in Missouri so I can send my kids to them. That was my premise for doing this study. This map over here shows what I did as far as dividing and conquering. So the yellow line divides out Nodaway County. And if you look at it, it's almost a square. So I decided, let's go ahead and divide the county into quadrants. So we have the northwest, southwest, northeast, southeast, and then Maryville, city of Maryville became its own quadrant for this study. So I basically had 5. Then what I did, and I'll just put both of these up here. Then what I did was I worked with Becky Flannery, the CEO of AAA, and my grad student and we developed a survey. Now this survey was really fun because if you know anything about older adults, you know you have to make the font 14 point or bigger so that people with vision impairments can read it well. This made this survey 5 pages long by the time we got that done. But the questions that we put in here all related to things that the Older Americans Act could fund and needs for older adults that are typical that AAA has identified and funds programs for. The other thing I wanted to know was what the barriers were for people not taking care of the issues. Was it money, time, health, what? I also wanted to know where they were getting the services from. Were they getting them from the senior center? Or were they getting them from family and friends or other places? So we asked these questions, we put this together, we asked about nutrition, health, mobility, legal issues, all of this. And you'll notice from the first presentation, the loneliness, sadness, isolated, fear, depression, anxiety was in here too. So we could identify, not specifically who it was, but areas that suffered more. Then we asked about caregiving. And this was really, really interesting, you guys, because what we found out, this basically didn't pan out at all like we wanted it to. We basically found out that older adults who are caring for each other don't see themselves as a caregiver. It's part of their job as a wife or a husband. So they didn't identify themselves as caregiving. The few people that we had that addressed caregiving were children of the older adults. But the older adults themselves didn't look at their job of caregiving as a separate, intensive job. And if you think about the fact that the majority of home caregiving is done by older adults for older adults, this becomes an issue because then all of our caregiving statistics that we see are not accurate if they're not considering themselves caregivers. So this was interesting. It didn't pan out like we wanted. The other thing we did was we tried to look at places that they would go to on a regular basis. So we had those very rural areas, the quadrants that were really, really rural. So they didn't have a set up senior center to go to. We wanted to know, would you be open to providing, if we had like basically pop-up senior center stuff, would it be in a school, a grocery store, a restaurant, a coffee shop? Where do you go that we could catch you? And so we asked them about that. We asked them questions about who was living in the houses. We found out that there's a lot of adult children living with their older adult parents, especially in the rural areas. And I think that's one way they're trying to make ends meet and take care of mom and dad. The last thing we did was we wanted to know about money. And let me just say, seniors won't tell you. They don't want you to know. So money, we didn't get a good idea of anything. And then the homes, what's interesting is the type of housing that we have up here. We found that a lot of people were living in homes that they still were renting or apartments that they were renting, which was interesting. And then this question about ethnicity and race is pretty ridiculous up here because we've got probably a 98% Caucasian. So we got a handful of different ethnic backgrounds, but not much. So this was the survey that we sent out, and we basically pulled it together and didn't have the money to mail it to everyone. So it became a distribution type of a survey implement. Oh, and then a open-ended question of what do you think will improve the stuff? So what we found out when we were collecting the data was that a graduate student is good. A professor is bad. Older adults would not talk to me. They saw me as a threat for some reason. I think I'm friendly, but they just did not want to talk to me. So Heather did the brunt work on this one of distributing the surveys. We used a lot of gatekeepers. We used a lot of friends and family who knew people. We used pastors to distribute the survey to their congregations, their older congregations. We used friends. We used people that grew up in different areas in the county to get the surveys out. So I used a lot of gatekeepers. And we used what's called snowball sampling, which basically means, do you know anybody else we could give this survey to? That worked out really, really well. The thing that we realized is that we needed to go to the people and have them fill it out right there. Otherwise, they would forget about it. On the few surveys that we did mail out and get back, it's amazing how many seniors will fold up a blank survey and send it back to you in a 78-cent envelope. So I'm glad we didn't mail things as much as we did. We did realize that people won't tell you certain things. They won't tell you about their income. And then Heather and I both realized that you have to plan on gaining weight when you do this type of survey distribution, because we went to every beef noodle, mashed potato, white roll, green bean meal that was out in all the counties. We went to ice cream socials. We went to fried chicken and fish fries. We did everything we could to hit the group of people we wanted. The other thing is, don't forget about getting information from City Hall and other sources in town. That helped us a lot with the background demographic information that we needed. So here's kind of sort of what we started to figure out. The total Nodaway County population increased by only 2.7% over the last 20 years. Maryville's population increased, was about half of the county population. Residents 60 and over increased by about 32% over the last 20 years. Now you saw the chart, so you know it's going to go even higher. The total Nodaway County population is projected to increase by only 4% in the next 15 years, whereas the residents age 60 and over is going to grow by more than 15%. So when you put it all together, you get between 2000 and 2030, Nodaway County population is going to grow by 6.7%. But the older adults 60 and over is actually going to grow by almost 50%. So those are the numbers. And you would think people would care about that number, that there was going to be a lot more older adults in the area. This is why I've tried to get a proactive approach to this. I'm watching your things here. Proactive approach to get a CTRS hired in town. So here, all you guys that are geekies that like to know. So takeaways. So this is the stuff I went to the things I went to the city about. We're having a whole bunch of older adults in Nodaway County. We're going to migrate and take all our money with us. Health, mobility, caregiving, finances, mental health. Let's be proactive instead of reactive, but we currently are very reactive. We try to save the house after it's fully engulfed in flames. The infrastructure is not good. The senior center is not meeting the needs. Areas of the counties have formed their own networks. We have varying needs. You can't just say everybody needs something, because every area of the county needs something different. And the common thread is engagement. People need to be engaged in what's going on. So I created a team of partners. So Here I am. Here's Ray Corder. He's my mentor and friend and aging advocate buddy. So Ray and I worked really, really hard. We got together with the retired faculty and staff from Northwest Missouri State. They have a group. They've become our pilot testing group of older adults for our programming. We met with the hospital president, the economic development president, and the director of Parks and Rec to form a team of us. I first asked if City Parks and Rec could hire a rec therapist there. They didn't have any money. So then I went over to the hospital to Nate and I said, could you hire one in your wellness, community wellness position? He didn't think he had the money because they're in debt too. So then I went to Josh and I said, do you think economic development can find us some grants for this? And everybody seems to think money is going to be the major issue. So that didn't stop us. We formed a group, we wrote grants. We didn't get any because we're not a nonprofit as a group and they won't let us apply under one agency. So we can't get grants. But at least I bulldozed a hole through the wall to potentially seeing the light of getting a CTRS hired up here. So we joined forces. We got all the community center, the physical therapy guys, the aging group. We all got together and decided we were going to do things. So we created an active adult program as a pilot program to show the need for it. And like I said, it started in January of 2020. It started going gangbusters. We run a cardiac drumming program, a journaling program, a rock painting program, a poetry program. We did all sorts of stuff. We had guest lectures on the Negro Baseball League and all sorts of amazing things. People were coming, and then the beginning of March, all hell broke loose, and we're now in defunct mode again. But I challenge you guys, look at your programs. Look at your agency, the corporation, the city, state, and nation. Everything is changing. Things are getting crazy. How does what you're doing fit or not fit anymore with that? Look at what's coming. You all know the age wave is about to hit. The tsunami is coming in the next 10 years. What are we going to do? How are we going to meet those needs? And could you fit a certified rec therapist who does holistic health interventions with your agency to try to go proactive instead of reactive? And that is it. That is me. So I will open the chat if anybody's got any questions, feel free to holler at me. Okay, I'm done.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for spending your morning with us. I know you gave us all a lot of things to think about, and actually, and you gave us some programming ideas. So thank you for that. And I think Kathy put in the chat that there is a survey that you can fill out. Remember, tomorrow morning we have trivia and wonderful workshops tomorrow. And I believe that Lynn is going to talk about some door prizes. Thanks to everybody for sticking around with our technical difficulties and my rambling.